That. Well, this morning I have a very special guest with me in studio. Now, Miss Thing, last week he had a full color photograph in the Royal Gazette.
Yes.
Did you happen to see that
I
picture?
happened to see it. He took up the whole page. I saw it. I was probably one of the last to see it because I think I read the paper later on in the evening. I just smiled.
Uh-huh.
I said, all right.
So you know who I speak of.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, and so it is my great pleasure this morning to have as my special guest Mr. Kushi Ming. Good morning, Mr. Kush.
Good morning, Dr. Connie and Miss Thing.
Good morning. No, it's Miss Thang with an A.
That's what I said, but I have a proper accent, so it sounds like an I.
And so, how are you this wonderful morning?
I am superb. I am superb.
And are you still basking in all the stardom and the glory?
I suppose you could say that, but I'm definitely happy about the coverage and happy to get out there and spread my message a little bit further.
Yes. Well, it was actually Miss Gina who suggested that we have you on. Why didn't you have him on? Where is he? So that was last week. So she's cruising the seas.
Good for her.
Somewhere out there and having herself a ball. And I gave her strict instructions about her diet prior to her leaving. So.
Sure, she threw theirs away.
She was like, no, Dr. Cardi, not today. But at any rate, we are just so proud of you. And of course, I had to mention that I'm second mother and your adopted son. And, these things go on. And the conversation that first mother and I had last week. So lots of folks are really proud to see you out there and putting yourself forward, presenting yourself well. We have so many stigmas attached in Bermuda, particularly to young people.
Yeah.
We don't always get to see all of the good stuff or hear about all of the good stuff that they do. And so when we have opportunities like this, we love to present it to our listening audience. And certainly the stigma, particularly with our young black males, to have, which I'm sure you know all too well.
Very well.
And that's one of the good things that I like about you is that you seem to have an in on both sides of the fence. Okay, so it's like I've seen you communicate with everybody and anybody, and that spells to me confidence, and that's not something that is easily developed, particularly in our males. Whether they, doesn't matter which cultural end of the scale they come from.
Yeah.
So to actually see you interact with everybody and anybody, and people just come up to you and greet you, and guys give you the fist and the what do you call that when you they do the guy hug, Miss Thing.
It's like it's a man hug.
It's a man hug, yeah. It's not like us ladies, we get all ooh.
Right.
It's a manly greeting.
It's a manly greeting with a slap on the back.
Yeah. There's a lot of love in that.
It looks like a lot of love, a lot of respect.
Absolutely.
So you're on a journey, and
Yes.
just tell us a little bit about that journey. Sort of pick up from the story that took place in last week's Royal Gazette for us.
Sure. To me it's an interesting story because obviously life develops one day at a time, right? So you never actually know what's going on until you get there, so to speak. And I can remember many times just being so caught up in the day-to-dayness of life, and even now I still very often find myself really focused on the day-to-day activities. But after a certain amount of time has gone past, you can look back and really track your progress and really see the relevance of the different encounters on those different days and those special moments, or the moments that seem not so special, that kind of lead you. They form a path to where you are today. So that's pretty much how that's kind of what my story was about in the paper last week, and I'll just touch on it a little bit, but it starts even further back than I started in the paper. I've always just wanted to be an entrepreneur and a successful person, so I've done like a bunch of different businesses ever since high school. I went to college, Bermuda College, to take a business administration program in order to better learn how to run my own business. And before I even finished the program, I was already like waist deep in all the businesses and felt the need to pursue those as opposed to pursuing college. So I did that. I didn't finish my degree. I left and did event promotions for, I started off, really on the bottom end of the scale, doing like putting up posters literally on telephone poles when that was still a lot. From Dockyard to St. George's, I would go with a friend of mine, Antonio Belvedere, and sometimes some of my other friends, my cousins. We would just literally start with a pack of flyers, go to the Dockyard, maybe do west to like Warwick on one night, and then try to finish the rest of it in a week. So that was like my job. And I really liked everything that was going on in the party industry. It was really fast paced, really exciting, a lot of fun, a lot of people to meet. So I really took an interest in it and pursued that. From there, I created promo groups through actually working with the Pink Party and Belcario Thomas. We established a promo group is just a bunch of people who go around to promote a party. So we would have people dressed in shirts, Pink Party t-shirts, and handing out flyers, talking to people about it. And that was like the next step in my progression to becoming an event promoter. So I from there developed my own team of people and would subcontract my promo team to different events in order to promote their events. The next step was actually doing my own parties. So I started, actually Antonio and I started doing parties together. I can't remember the year. I think it was probably like 2010, 2011, something like that. And yeah, we did smaller parties, small scale, couple hundred people. Really fun, but nothing really spectacular. And then the next step for me was actually joining forces with a bunch of really great people, Jansen Cross, Gussie Godwin, Rowan Ramatar, Jason Darrow. I called ourselves Fantastic Party. We did like really, really big parties. Bear Girls going wild at Snorkel Park, Cop Match Fever inside Fourth and Catherine. Yeah, so that's kind of the progression of my journey to an event promoter, and it was really interesting because I really enjoyed that lifestyle. It was like, that nightlife lifestyle, going out partying. It was really fun. I had a lot of fun doing it, and part of me always had some questions because it wasn't not necessarily natural to me. It wasn't my natural thing. It kind of was something that I bought into, so to speak. So I always had second thoughts about it. And eventually, I guess it came time for me to move on from there. And like how it happened for me was the party industry changed a lot. And in particular, I couldn't keep up with, or I didn't want to keep up with what was going on in the industry. And I would have rather continued to create parties in my own way. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, that's just not what people wanted. So I ended up pushing my startup party for quite a while until I kind of exhausted my funds. And that was the point where I really just had to take another look at my life because it seemed like that was everything I wanted. I had worked really hard. It took me 6 years to get to the level that I was at in the nightlife business in Bermuda. And I was just like, it was all gone in the blink of an eye. So I felt really upset. I had like depressed feelings and I was really negative to myself. And from that place is where I really learned to be responsible for the things that are going on in my life. And I took that responsibility on by reading personal development books and listening to those kind of authors and their talks and their seminars and whatnot, and getting really deeply involved with that stuff and planning my business out better, and as a graphic designer, because I also do graphic design, so I took that on full time, and I used the information in the personal development to increase my clientele there and increase my income there. And even that was like, graphic design, I really love art, always have, but something through the entirety of my life has always been about reaching out and touching other people on a soulful level, on a spiritual level. And I realized by listening to these people that, this is a really great way to actually do that. And it spoke to me so deeply, and I felt really connected to that purpose. So I decided that, what's next for me is definitely to do motivational speaking. And I found that most of these motivational speakers were some sort of coach. So I took an interest in life coaching. After researching a little bit, I kind of put that to the back burner because it wasn't my main interest. Speaking was my main interest. But then I started to get this urge to coach and find out about coaching and do a coaching program. And around that time, I actually I linked up with this charity called CDD and spoke to a group of their people. And from there, they invited me to sit on a think tank kind of thing for their men's program, because the other program, they're just a women's program. And in the men's program meeting, after the meeting, I should say, a gentleman introduced himself to me. His name is Pete Saunders, and he asked me, what he asked me about myself, basically. And I said, I'm a graphic designer, but that's obviously not necessarily why I'm here. I'm aspiring to be a motivational speaker and a life coach. And, his response to that was, wow, I'm a life coach. Let me give you a free session. And by the end of that session, I was actually signed up, deposit paid, for a coaching program that operates out of New York City. So I fly out there once a month to become certified as a life coach. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we've had some really long and deep conversations over tea.
Yes, we have. I cherish our conversations very much.
Oh, thank you. I'm honored. And just sort of watching you, ideas unfold, dreams unfold, aspirations, and the maturity, and I want to say the maturity that has developed ever since you've been on this path. I know it's been a short period of time, but certainly you can see it, and you can more or less identify it when it comes to the way you put things into perspective, the way you speak about things now, and certainly the life coaching has helped to develop you and I would think motivate you toward your goals.
Yeah, coaching is incredible. It's definitely the most rapid progress I've ever experienced in my life since I've been, because I actually work with a coach as well. So on a weekly basis, I talk to my life coach, and there's that, and there's also the coursework that I integrate into my life, or work to integrate into my life. That's the more challenging part of it, but definitely have seen an increase in a lot of the areas that I identified that I wanted to increase in, and most of them are spiritual areas for me. So being more present to actual situations that are happening, as opposed to I have a tendency to really drift off and try to figure things out in my head whenever I can. So it keeps me from being actually in the moment with people and connecting with people. So
yeah, that's the Dreamers Club. That's the Dreamers Club. Welcome, I'm a member.
Yeah, I think we all have a tendency to do a bit of that. It's just like we feel so pressed with time that every opportunity we have to figure out the next thing. Mm-hmm. The next thing needs to get figured out in order to actually tackle that and make that progress there. And it's nothing wrong with that at all. And there's also still an option for us to really be present and appreciate the moments as they exist, and not spend so much time trying to figure those things out. Mm-hmm. There seems to be a level of existence that is really beyond brain work. It's really like a soul knowing, where you are able to actually just trust that the things that you're working towards and the things that you've decided you want to bring and create into your life, really just trust that those things are going to happen and allow yourself into those positions, as opposed to using your brain to figure it out and kind of force yourself there. You just allow yourself to be there and you show up there.
But that's not an easy thing to do.
That's funny, because the funniest part about it is the hardest thing to do is to realize that it is easy. Because it's complete.
So now you just confused our listening audience.
Exactly. It's so funny. It's so funny. It works. For me, it worked in a roundabout way. And, you know, I'm not saying that I'm an expert on it, but I have definitely seen shifts in my life. And I have actually realized that things are pretty easy in terms of a lot of the resistance that we deal with in life. And kind of where it's back to how I was mentioning earlier about being caught up in the day-to-dayness of things.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. We lose track of the big picture, right? So if we actually would just trust that the big picture is already taken care of, that the instant that our thoughts decided that that thing is what we want into our life, that outcome was actually created,
Mm-hmm.
and allow ourselves into that position, it just happens that easily, right? But the release of the control is what freaks people out, and that is what's hard. It's
Yes.
actually not hard to release. It's kind of right before you release that's hard. It's like all the brain work that's going into releasing, and if I release, it's gonna go haywire, you know.
But it's going haywire anyway.
It's already going haywire. It's already going haywire. but it just, you know, we have this concept that control is the way to keep things in order.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When, yeah, in reality, everything kind of came from chaos in general. So
Yes.
it's interesting. It's interesting the way that we've created our society to believe how things work, as opposed to if we actually took a look at our nature as spiritual beings, how things would really actually work in a universe that is entirely spiritual.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, society has great influences and it's far reaching because from a very young age, society actually dictates as to how you're supposed to behave, what is acceptable, what's not acceptable. You and I both know that thinking outside of the box makes you like really a square peg in a round hole because you're not following the herd, so to speak. And so I wanna just go shift in a different direction here for a moment. We look at so many who have been told that, oh, you'll never make it, you can't do it. One of the two stories have captivated me watching the CBS morning news. One is the ballet dancer Misty Copeland, and then there was a young man, an American young man, who was a dancer, ballet dancer. I can't remember his name. I'm going to have to research and pull that name up again. But his story was also very interesting. These are young people that are told, you'll never make this because you don't have the prerequisites, so to speak. And so how do you get past, particularly in being a young black man, and you know, so many times and I don't want to make this a race-centered conversation, but I really want to get the message out there because I really feel that too many times young people in general, and particularly our young black people, they mentally enslave or restrict themselves based on what others have to say and the negative comments that others make.
Yeah.
So in looking around, and particularly in your age group of young people, male and female, how do you maneuver around the negatives that are thrown at you on a regular? Because I know that they come.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, for me, they don't really come very often. I can't actually think of the last time that someone's been negative to me, and the difference is, actually, I can think of the last time. I just don't remember when exactly when it was, but I was much younger. I think I was still in high school, and the difference is, I think you touched on it, but it's really the self-talk that we the rhetoric that we run over in our heads, like what we have on auto repeat in our brains, that kind of dictates what we see in our lives. When I was younger, I mean, my name's Cushi. My name literally means blackness. It means Africa. And
That's the first thing I said to you when I met you. You told me your name. I'm like, you mean like the Kush people from
Yeah,
Africa?
like that's literally my name. So part of my identity has always been blackness and the black struggle, and I got really involved in that. And then I was really involved in that. A lot of stuff looked negative. A lot of things looked really negative to me, and I felt I saw a lot of negativity all around me. And I decided one day to actually just let go of that talk. Like, I figure there are, I don't know. I don't want to get too deep into the race part of it either. But what the important part to take away from it is that I decided that I wasn't going to make that belief a part of my life. If the black struggle is real, it wasn't going to be real for me anymore. And I haven't actually seen it. You know, I don't see that life is hard for a young black man anymore. I see that the difficult parts of my life, I actually cherish them and appreciate them very much. And I learn from them, and I realize the purpose that they have in my life now. Whether or not it's because I don't think it's because I'm black. I think it's because of the path that I've chosen. The difficulties I face are learning experiences that are actually going to lead me there. They're like a staircase. Going upstairs isn't always easy. You know, if it's a long staircase, your legs get tired.
And don't be carrying a heavy load.
Exactly. And that's the thing, like, we don't realize the load we carry is our choice. Like, it's mostly the stuff that we believe, that we take in, and we never realize that we actually have the ability to choose what we believe. We kind of hold our beliefs as, we pay homage to them, we hold them as reverent. You know, if someone attacks, and I put air quotes around the term attacks. If someone attacks our beliefs, we feel like we need to defend it. We feel like we need to attack back even. And really, you can never even, like, a belief is not necessarily even a real thing. You can't put a finger on it. Everybody believes something different. Even within families where the belief system is generally the same, everyone's interpretation of it is a little bit different.
And I think that's a very deep root system, the family. Because if you've been brought up a certain way, say in a certain religion, and you perhaps have certain restrictions in lifestyle, or are exempt from certain groups, social groups, whatever the case may be, I see that also as a hindrance to your growth and your I want to say mental, emotional, spiritual development, because there just appears to be a restriction, and stepping outside of that box. And I can certainly speak from experience, because I have so many family members that just think that I'm just
You crazy Buddhist lady.
Yeah. You know, they have their comments and they share them with other people, and it really, after a while, sometimes it does upset me, but after a while, you know, you think to yourself, gosh, I really don't have the time to invest in this type of rhetoric. I really don't. You know, if I bow down to the thoughts of others, then I certainly can't serve my own
Absolutely.
purposes, my own goals and development, because I'm too busy bowing down to what others think and how they want to mold me and shape me in front of the rest of the world. So I that's too time consuming for me, really and truly. But just moving forward now, I heard you speak at the Trent Shelton.
Yeah.
Am I saying his name right?
Trent Shelton, that's right.
Okay. I saw that on, I think it was Channel 82.
Yes, it was Channel 82.
And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the first time I ever heard Mr. Cush speak. And then I could actually see you. So it was like a twofold thing, you know. And I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, geez, there's something there. And I want to say this, and I don't want, you know, to put any sort of meditative concepts in place, but I want to say this, but it's almost as if you become someone else when you function under that umbrella. To hear you speak and to see the confidence exude, it's like you take on a different personality and you become this, like, this different person. Do you see yourself that way? Do you shift mentally and emotionally in order to facilitate the coaching role?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say it's like sports, right? I wouldn't take a pair of football boots to play a basketball game. So there is preparation that goes into my being, like how I want to show up on stage or in a coaching conversation, and it's very different, very different. Even those two integral parts of my profession, coaching and speaking, are completely different from each other.
Yes.
And fundamentally different as well. And then in personal as well, there are pieces of everything that I can use in everything else. So the playfulness that I have with my friends and family, I can take that into a speech and lighten the mood for the audience, or into a coaching call to relieve a lot of the tension when because coaching calls can go really deep and become really heavy.
Yes.
And playfulness really helps to lighten the atmosphere and make it easier for the client to actually continue the conversation. And then there are ways that I learned from coaching, like really being present and involved in a person's right in that conversation, and really more than just the talking part of the conversation, but like the spiritual connectivity that happens there. I can take that and put that into my friendships and my relationships and into my speeches as well, and really connect with the audience, and so on and so forth. So even though there are things that definitely have the ability to overlap into each one, there is a preference that I have for showing up in each of those roles.
And certainly coaching appears to me to be a lot like counseling. Do they sort of cross over in a lot of ways? Because I witnessed a session with you once, and I thought, geez, this looks a lot like counseling. So is there an overlap?
There isn't necessarily an overlap, and sometimes there is. And in the conversation that you're referring to, I think there was a lot more like therapeutic kind of tactics at work there, because some of that stuff was mostly past-based, which is what therapy is, right? The distinct difference between therapy and coaching is that therapy is past-based, and coaching is really about identifying where you are today and identifying where you want to go in the future, and basically creating a bridge to get there. So coaches are pretty much like bridge architects. We help the client to actually distinguish what's blocking them from getting to that place in the future, remove that thing out of the way, and the client creates a path with the coach towards that objective that they have. Therapy, on the other hand, first of all, therapy is actually like considered medical. So when we refer to counseling in a coaching context, like it's usually therapy that we're referring to, because that's the one-on-one part of counseling. Counseling and psychology. So that is medical. As coaches, we don't have any kind of ability to diagnose anything. Or,
Yes.
Yeah. We can't say that you have ADHD or
Schizophrenia.
whatever the case may be. Like that is not a part of my repertoire.
Okay.
And it's also very much centered on the past. So those are the distinct difference. But the conversational style and the hard questions are really what really similarity gets drawn. Yeah.
How do you actually relate to young Bermudian males across the board? Because I've seen everybody and their grandmother from all walks of life and all cultural backgrounds come up to you. What's up, Kush? So how do you actually relate? Do they see you as being different? Because I know there seems to be this sort of divide, particularly with our young black males. And if they see another young black male striving for success or striving to develop particular goals, it almost comes across as jealousy or threat in some way, shape, or form, or you're no longer approachable because you're not one of us. And how do you sort of penetrate those types of mental, emotional, spiritual barriers?
So interesting. I hear that so often, and I really don't see a lot of it. I'm a true believer though in like the law of attraction and what you put out there is what you get back.
Mm-hmm.
And a big part of who I am is putting love into the universe. You mentioned confidence earlier, and a big part of my journey has been getting confidence out of the way and really just allowing myself to love everybody. You know, so that, to me, that's what it is. Like, I show up to give people love, like, period. You know what I mean? Whatever's happening, whatever the conversation is, like, my goal is to radiate love towards you. And, you know, whatever that does for you, I hope that it lightens the mood. I hope that it creates some movement for you or whatnot. But I'm really interested in just connecting with people's love on that soulful level that I speak of. Like, I believe soul and love are like two words for the same thing. So yeah, that's all it is for me. And I don't really think that I have, since I've been on this journey, have experienced any kind of hate. So there's, you know, haters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even have to use that word.
That's
I'm
a good
serious.
thing.
I'm serious. I don't see much of that at all. But I'm not saying that it isn't a reality either. I'm sure that people talk about it so much because they're experiencing it. And to them, I would say, just, what are you putting into the universe? You know, what are you putting out there? And I know we often come from a place of, it's difficult for us to understand what we are doing, you know, because we see what we're doing as, you know, right, pretty much. But being really conscious about whether or not you're sharing love and putting love out there can really create shifts. Really. I guarantee you, if you come from a place of love on a daily basis and put nothing but love into the universe, you're going to get nothing but love back from people. And that's been my journey for sure.
Okay. And so what you've gotten back is enough respect.
Enough respect.
Enough respect.
Definitely.
And so going forward, how much longer do you have for your coaching course? Because I know it looks to me, and I'm on the outside looking in, I can only go by what you share with me, but it certainly looks to be intense at times.
Oh yeah, you know very well how intense it can be. It's very interesting, and I definitely go through like cycles in intensity. But the course finishes in January, and I'm already coaching. Like, this is a certification program because I decided that I want to be adept in coaching. And the fact is, like, you don't have to have any kind of designation to actually be a coach. So I found one of the highest rated, and this was just by chance, I came across like the highest rated coaching program in the States, some say in the world, and it is intense. It's confrontational. It's scary a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And that's what, you know, who really wants to work with somebody who hasn't done the work? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's what kind of qualifies me to be a coach, is that I'm really in it. I'm really going through it too. So there's times when my clients are going to go through it. I know exactly what they feel like. I know exactly because I've been there, you know? So yeah, it finishes up in January, and I'm excited to finish it and to take on the next step from there.
Who actually gets mileage out of a coach? Like who comes to you for coaching? Like what benefit is one to anticipate by taking on a life coach or engaging with a life coach?
Yeah, it's interesting. The statistics show, well, across the board, most people who hire coaches, or I should say where most of these statistics come from, are like executives and high-level entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And across the board, the results are pretty incredible. There's like pay increases, promotions, things like that.
Is that all kind of pie in the sky, though, Mr. Cush? I mean, do you are these kind of like false promises? And because I'm being the devil's advocate
No,
here.
sure, I appreciate it. So that I don't work with the people who the statistics are based on generally or yet. The people I work with, the progress I see is them actually identifying what's blocking them from getting the things that they want in life.
Okay.
And instead of like believing those blocks, they stop believing in the blogs, and they, get a different perspective on what they've been looking at, and they actually go for the things that they want, and they're in progress in getting the things that they want. Whereas before they were just sitting on the fence waiting, and if you wait, who knows how long you wait.
Well, a lot of us have the entitlement status on the fence while we sit.
Oh yeah, there's that too.
It's no get up off the fence and get your rear end moving.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the fence and I'm entitled because I'm Bermudian. Da 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 da. But what happens to all the other pieces that fit in to you getting to where you need to go?
I'm not sure I understand that one.
Okay. So, in other words, you're sitting on the fence and you're crying poverty, or can't find a job, or I'm never going to get anywhere, or there's nobody to believe in me.
Right.
I don't want to say excuse because it's a lot of people's reality. So I don't want to say excuse or belief systems. They actually believe that these things are not going to happen for them because of some of the examples that I just gave. So what I'm saying is, so it doesn't necessarily have to be those things. It could be you're not applying yourself. You're not going the distance. You haven't taken out the time to prepare, because we know about the, 5 P's? Prior preparation prevents
piss poor
poor
performance.
So maybe you didn't do that. So that's where I'm going. So how do you get those things out of the way for a lot of people who really believe that well, it's only because I'm black, or it's only because I wear my pants below my butt, or
that's the funny part about it, and you touched on it. You said it is reality for some people, and of course it's reality for some people, because what we believe decides our reality, not what's real. Like, what's real is there's like the actual reality is that nothing is anything in particular. We make it everything that it is. So the key is, or what happens in coaching is, there's a shift in belief. So we work to actually draw clear attention to the belief system. And, a lot of times belief system, well, the abbreviation for belief system is BS. So, like, let's put it that way, you know what I mean? So once you can get the BS out of the way, once you really identify exactly what your belief system is, where you can look at it and say, I didn't even know I was doing that, it gives you access to change it. So, unidentified belief system, you think everything is real. When you identify it, you can choose something else and then view everything else in a different reality.
Okay.
So that is a major, that's how it.
That's like a major consciousness shift.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what it is. That is actually what makes things accessible to people, is a shift in perspective and a shift in consciousness. Yeah, it's not that situations change. Situations are just situations. It's our interpretation of situations that keep us limited or start us moving forward.
So this course finishes in January, and I just have this like really sneaky intuitive feeling like that there's something else behind that you're kind of plotting right now that you haven't probably told us about, or you're kind of keeping it in the background until you're sure of where it's going to go or whatever. But I just don't see you stopping there. There's a whole lot more to come.
I mean, I have a big vision, and it's to spread as much love as possible. And I, can't spread I know how much love I am capable of spreading. And I don't think that the best way to do that would be to just, stay in Bermuda and love everybody here. I think I can spread it on like an international level. And that's not to say that leaving Bermuda for good or anything like that, but I want to take my message to different places.
Certainly overseas exposure can't hurt.
Well, no, not at all. Not at all. And again, it's really about just connecting with people on that soulful level and doing as much of that as possible, allowing people to experience those results in their life as well, and to have people be more comfortable with approaching things, situations, and other people from a place of love.
What happens when you have that really difficult client that just can't get out of their own way? Because but this may sound funny, but there are so many of us that get in our own way that we can't get around ourselves. And even when someone is there to help, we still can't get around ourselves because we are so locked into those belief systems or so locked into that negativity that we really don't think anything good is possible for us. So how do you deal with that? And I'm sure you must come up against it from time to time. Not every client is a breeze client. I can I know that from
no client is a
experience.
breeze client, right? And that's the beauty about it. Like not even me, we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and you know, I'm a person who really gets like the point of coaching, like we identify contacts and stuff like that. I get that before I even started coaching.
Yeah.
So I can talk on that level with my coach, whereas a lot of people in my program are learning how to talk on that level. And I still do dumb stuff all the time. You know what I mean? So I guess like for me, the key here is to be kind of detached. And what I mean there, like a big part of my journey was actually looking back and seeing now that I encountered this kind of information like coaching and personal development information a lot of times throughout my life, and it was interesting to me and I never pursued it, but little seeds got planted, and next thing I know I'd see it more often, and then I was in pursuit of, you know, and now I'm a life coach before I even noticed it, but it started a long time ago with just a little piece of information.
Yeah.
So it isn't up to me to transform the client. I totally and truly understand that everyone is literally perfect where they're at on their journey. So it might not happen while they're with me, and I'm not there for that. I'm not there to make it happen. You know what I mean? I'm there to give them a space to grow. That's all. So I don't have that attachment to like figuring it out for my clients, or you know, they need to figure it out, or if they don't figure it out, I'm a bad coach and stuff like that. No, everyone has a pace for their own journey, and when they come into my life, I do my best to create a place for them to grow in a new way and have that as something they can take with them. But other than that, you know, it's really all about their own responsibility. Yeah.
Cool. Any words of wisdom for our young people out there that are feel stuck, feel as if there's no one maybe on their side there to help them, no one to motivate them to get to the next level of whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Perhaps they've spent a tremendous amount of time and money on a particular degree, and come home can't find a job. I personally believe that everything happens for a reason. So even though you may have done that, it may be time that may just serve as a platform to move you in another direction. So any words of wisdom for our young people?
Sure, yeah. It's to really, truly understand that you are literally perfect as you are. You face struggles, and your struggles are perfect too. And they don't have to be struggles either. I think that a big part of it is, you know, going back to what we touched on earlier, is identifying your belief systems and really being responsible for what you believe. We tend to believe that a lot of things are impossible. What do you think is impossible? Identify what you think is impossible and change your belief about that and see what becomes accessible to you. You feel like you aren't getting support? Challenge yourself to get support. I've felt that way in my life as well, and a lot of the time what I was doing was not asking for support, and kind of, I don't know, I don't know how to ask for support either, believe me. That's one of the things I work on with my coach all the time. And I guess I felt like support was just supposed to happen, kind of thing. So if you're feeling like support's supposed to happen, go out and ask for support. And you know, you don't learn how to walk the first time you try walking, right? You fall a bunch of times.
Yep.
Well, life's no other way. Asking for support's no other way. Achieving your dreams is it's no different than that at all. You know, so just really be conscious of that and understand that you are perfect in your journey, and eventually you're going to start walking, and next thing you know, you're going to be an adult and you're going to have walking for like 30 years. So keep it within that analogy, but you know that is exactly how your dreams work out as well.
So old Chinese proverb: fall down 7 times, get up 8.
Stand up 8, right? And a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Well, Ms. Thing, we should have taken a commercial like 20 minutes ago, but this conversation was so
That's fine.
interesting and it was on such a roll
That is fine.
that I tried to reserve time for the commercials. Okay, so we can play those after. Okay, very good, very good. So just I don't know if you want to take any questions from our listening audience, but certainly we have a few moments. So if there's anyone out there that would like to call in. Now the number to dial is what again, Ms. Thing?
2921340.
I should know that. You know, I rely on Gina so much to say that number.
Don't worry, I have to look at the board sometimes and say, okay, it is 1340.
You guys are funny.
I start pointing them to Sandra. Call Sandra on 295-283. But certainly moving forward. So January is just around the corner when you think about it. You know, we're into September.
January
So you have
is.
October, November, December, and that's 4 months away.
Still feels like infinity sometimes.
And do you feel like you're on target with the 4 months that's left? Do you feel like you're running out of time? How do you feel getting so close to January?
Well, angst is something that comes up quite often if I allow it to, but I am really working on being settled in just loving everything I do. And from that place, like anything is possible and achievable. So I really want to approach the work that I have to do on a monthly basis with a lot of love. And there is quite a bit of work to do. And I think that I would have a bit more catching up to do before I feel completely on target. But I think that I will finish on target, yeah, for sure.
So are there follow-ups like continuing education where you do seminars, coaching seminars, or workshops after your course?
The course actually doesn't necessarily finish at all. It goes from the participant level to a mentorship level, and from a mentorship level to a leader in training level, and then to a leadership level. And, you know, that can last as long as you want it to. One of the leaders who I work with in my program has been there since the actual start of the company. I can't remember how long ago that was, but it's been quite some time now. So yeah, there's actually, it's beautiful in that way because it allows you to continue to develop with a group of supportive people that you know who actually understand you. They really understand you. Like they really got to see you go through it, and you got to see them go through it. So you can be really vulnerable with them and actually get down to the nitty gritty and that stuff that you probably don't want to talk about or can't talk about with anybody else. They call you on it, put it in your face, and you actually get to move it out of your way. Yeah.
How many life coaches in Bermuda? Do we have life coaches?
Yeah, we have life coaches. We have life coaches. I don't know how many there are. I am aware of maybe close to 10.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe close to 10. You're sitting about a yard and a half away from another one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's not an area that I'm like totally familiar with, so I'll just pick up, you know, from you when you say, oh, that's another life coach, or that one, like, yeah. So I kind of get these things. I like the interaction though. I like when you come and visit because all the young people come around and I get to hear the most interesting conversations. This thing. And after they leave, I'm like, Mr. Cush, do young people really think like that? And he's like, yeah, let me tell you.
It's interesting to, for some people to take some time out just to sit and talk to, teenagers.
Yes,
And they're very intelligent.
indeed.
Very intelligent. And some of the
Indeed.
things they say, just like individuals talk to senior citizens,
Uh-huh.
and you walk away and you're like, I do not believe they just said that.
Oh,
Yes, yes.
The young people are very intelligent. They are far from dumb. And you're like, wow, that's what goes on in school today. Okay, that's what happened. That's what your friends are texting you. Okay.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So I get to see all of that when Kush comes to visit because,
Stop acting like you're old, Dr. Connie.
well, I'm come on. I mean, this is not my generation. This is like a couple of generations, behind me. But the interaction I find very, very interesting, and certainly helps me to understand the journey for a lot of young people. And as I say, he knows no ethnic or cultural boundaries because just young people from all walks of life come up and you'll hear the interaction and the verbal exchange and the conversations, and I think, gee, that's really interesting. So I figure if I interrupt, I'll lose out on hearing what's going on. So I just be quiet and listen to them and let them talk. And then after they leave, I'll say, so Kush, tell me, how do they feel about this, that, and the other? And that's how our conversations go a lot of times. We really educating one another.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's such a powerful shift to, I guess, like the cultural norm is to look at people who are older than us as teachers or people who are able to teach us. And when we can make the shift from that to being willing to learn and teach everyone, like so much more becomes available. So much more becomes available. You hear so many profound things from even infants.
Yes.
That could blow your mind because you've decided that you can learn from everybody. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, we're heading up to news time, Miss Thang.
I think it's what, 3
Two-
minutes to the top
2
of the
minutes
hour? 2
to-
minutes to the top of the hour?
Okay, 2 minutes to the top of the hour. So I just want to thank you, really, for coming on this morning and sharing with us a bit of you and who you are and where you're going and what you're doing. And certainly people can reach out to you. So do you have a contact device? Because
Yeah.
young people walking around, you got all these devices going. I'm not the Facebook, Instagram kind of show yourself. Remember the Jetsons and all those cartoons, Miss?
Oh boy.
I'm
Miss
sorry,
Day?
I'm a Jetson. I feel like a Jetson. My favorite is the Flintstones, though. And don't talk about the Smurfs. Oh my God. I can't get into this new stuff.
But the Jetsons, they used to have these devices where you could see the person that you were talking to, and so when I get to see all this stuff, I really get entertained because it's not tools that I use, but I really get entertained, and I'm like, how does that work? So can people reach out to you on your device?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You can call me, email me, however. My email is kashai@theelevatedlifestyle.com. Also, my phone number is 704-2771. And if you are interested in like getting a little daily inspiration and stuff like that, you can check me out on Facebook or Instagram. Instagram @Cushiming, that's CUSHIMING, or Facebook.com/theelevatedlifestyle. And I just
Okay.
post a bunch of really inspirational stuff on there as often as I feel motivated to, which is pretty often.
Okay. Well, thank you for inspiring us this morning, Mr.
I
Cush.
appreciate the opportunity very much. Thank you.
All right, Miss Thing, I think we're just about done.
I think so. We're just going to stand by and wait for the news. So that does it for you. I will see you next week. Wednesday.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, because Miss Tina will still be away.
I know.
Yes.
I just hope she's behaving herself.
I'm sure she is.
Nah.
And if she isn't, she's not telling anyone.
Yeah, she certainly won't tell me.
No, she's not going to tell you. Have a great day, both of you. And
Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you so much.
1 minute to the top of the hour, FM 89.
All righty then. God, people must have been listening because that's the first time that phone hasn't rung in a long time.
I know. She's on time today. Your ID is old.